Hello there, and thanks for joining me. I'm digital artist Aaron Rutten, and in this video, I'll show you 7 tips you can use for faster editing in Premiere Pro. So my first tip is to play back your footage faster than normal speed. So I'm going to move my playhead right about here, and of course I can hit spacebar on my keyboard to go ahead and play at normal speed.
If you use the layer adjuster tool, you can move them left or right.
I'll hit spacebar again to stop the playhead, but I can also hit LL on my keyboard. And then hit spacebar to stop the playhead. And what that did is that played back my footage faster. So if I want to save a little bit of time, if I'm going over and over the same clip to make edits, or to rewatch my footage to make sure that there aren't any remaining mistakes, you save a lot of time playing back your footage faster. Now you can keep hitting L. I could hit LLL, and then spacebar to stop the footage, but I feel like that's too fast and you can't really tell what you're saying when you go that fast. So that's a great way to save a little bit of time while you're editing. My next tip is to memorize just a few of the keyboard shortcuts for some of these common tools. For example, if I want to cut a clip really quickly, I can zoom in here and let's say we want to cut this part. I can hit C on my keyboard. That switches me to my cut tool. Make my cut here, and then hit V on my keyboard to switch to my selection tool, which is this one here. I can select that clip, and then for example, I could right click on it and unlink it. And with just the video selected, I could hit R on my keyboard to switch to the rate tool, which lets me speed up the clip. So if I wanted it to be just this long, I could switch back with V to the selection tool, and then I could clear that audio track and I could take everything and scoot it over. Or there's a faster way to do it that'll save you some time. We can hit Ctrl+R to go into the clip speed duration dialog, and we can set a specific speed or a specific duration. Let's say we want it to be 300% faster. If you make sure to check Ripple Edit Shift Trailing Clips, that's going to save you a little bit of time by automatically bridging the gap between the two clips to get rid of any empty space. So I'll click on OK, and you can see that that clip moved over. Now that gap being bridged there is called a ripple delete, and you can also set ripple delete to a shortcut on your keyboard. Now what I like to do is go to Edit, Keyboard Shortcuts, and I prefer to have delete on my keyboard as ripple delete and backspace as clear. You can simply select ripple delete, or you could do a search for it, and just drag the shortcut over and drop it onto the key that you want it to be applied to. Once that's done, you can hit delete on your keyboard and that'll automatically bridge the gap while deleting the clip, which is preferable to how it was before, where delete clears the clip. And if I do that with backspace now, you can see it doesn't bridge the gap. So it's much better to use a ripple delete because that's going to save you one extra step there of having to move your track over. So I know I did that kind of slow, but let's take a look at how I could do that quickly. Here's a gap that I want to cut out, and there we go. Cut out that gap. Here's another gap that I want to cut out. I'll cut out that gap. And you can see I did that really quickly on my keyboard because I've memorized those keyboard shortcuts. The next tip I have for you involves copying and pasting clip attributes. For example, if in this clip right here, I decided I wanted to zoom in on a particular part, and then as I move forward on the timeline, I want it to maintain that scale rather than switch back to how it was. Rather than go to this next clip and set the scale manually, all I have to do is right-click on the clip that already has the effect applied and go to Copy. Then I right-click on the clip or clips that I want to apply it to. And in fact, you could drag a selection if you wanted to select multiple clips, or you could hold Shift to select non-contiguous clips. I could right-click and I could choose Paste Attributes. Now it'll let me choose which attributes I want to paste because sometimes you want to paste only certain attributes. In this case, I only applied an effect to the motion, so I'll just leave that checked. I'll click on OK. And now all of those clips have that exact same motion effect. Now you can do that with color, you can do that with chroma keying, you can do that with any effect. You can simply copy and paste it. If we look in the effects controls here, in the editing tab, you can see it's applied that motion effect. If there's any effects you want to get rid of, simply select them and then hit delete to get rid of them. The next tip I have deals with editing long videos. When you're editing a really long clip, there's going to be a lot of gaps and a lot of mistakes, and as you're going along, it's better to keep your flow and just focus on cutting out all those mistakes before you do things like add annotations and bells and whistles and anything fancy. But as you're watching the video, cutting out those mistakes, you're certainly going to notice spots where you wanted to zoom in and add an annotation, and rather than have to watch it again and look for those spots, you might as well just set a marker. So I can go through here and let's say right about this point here is where I actually start sketching the lines. I'm going to hit M on my keyboard, and that'll add a marker right here. I can double click on the marker and I can give it a name. I can call that sketch, and I could even choose a color for that marker. Let's say all of my talking points are going to be orange. And then let's say that over here we have a chapter, and maybe this is a different part. We'll make that white, and we'll call that part 2. And then over here, we want to make sure that we zoom in on something. So we add a blue marker and we call that zoom on left. And then let's say right about here, we have the end of the video. So we'll set a marker there. Let's make that pink. And let's call that end of video. Now, if we look over in markers, we have all these markers that we can quickly navigate to. So if I wanted to jump to part 2, I could click on part 2 and my playhead jumps there. If I wanted to jump to the end of the video, I click and my playhead jumps there. And I have sort of a table of contents that I can look at. And so I can quickly navigate to certain places. Or I have an idea of how many annotations I have left. For example, if I set a lot of annotations in this video, I'd have a bunch of blue markers and I could go through each one individually by automatically jumping to it and add my annotation there. The next tip I have that'll save you a lot of time is to create templates for your projects so that you have all of your commonly used assets all in one place before you start editing. So what I've done is I've just gone ahead and saved a blank template, and this already has a whole bunch of stuff in it. Like for instance, I can bring in this graphic here that you might have seen in the beginning of my videos that just shows my name. Or I have my end card, which you can see over here on the left. I show that at the end of my videos. And then I have my intro that I show at the beginning of the videos. And these are all things that I'm going to use for just about every video. And so rather than have to find them each time I start a new composition and drag them in, why not just save a blank composition with those assets there? This particular composition is saved in 1440p format, but I also have one in 1080 format for when I do smaller format videos. So this makes it really quick and easy. I can just bring my footage into my blank template, drag it in, and then just go to File and Save As so that I'm not saving over my template. I'll save that as a new project, and then I can go in here and I can drag in my assets, for example, this thing that shows in the beginning, and I can bring my end card over here and put it on the end. If I want to bring in my little Twitter header, I can bring that in down here at the bottom. And it's really quick and easy to bring in all of these commonly used assets. And finally, the last tip that I have for you isn't necessarily specific to Adobe Premiere Pro, but it deals more with proofing your video or watching it so that you can look for mistakes before you give it your stamp of approval and finally publish it online. And so you'll want to be previewing your video with the same application that your viewers are going to preview it with. I always recommend VLC Media Player because that's a free media player and it works really well for playing a bunch of different formats. So right now I have my rendered video loaded into VLC Media Player, and I can play it back and watch it.
Area for that, right in the center of that, that's the center of the teeth.
But I'm playing it back at full speed, and if I've already edited through this video 10 or 20 times, I already know what I'm saying, and if I just want to watch this for mistakes, I don't necessarily need to watch it at normal speed. I can speed it up a bit. So how do we play it back much faster? We can right-click on the video, we can choose Playback, and then Speed, and then Faster. Now, I don't know that all video applications will support faster playback, but VLC Media Player does, and as I mentioned earlier, it's free. So I'll go ahead and click play.
They go kind of straight across here, and then when they hit this vertical line, they kind of start to curve, diagonal, like so. We can use this line here.
Go ahead and pause it. I'll right-click again, and let's play it back even faster. I'll add even more speed by clicking Faster again.
Go ahead and finish it off. So here's our teeth area. And from the corner of the mouth up, we'll draw a little wedge shape.
Now, one of the things I like about this is it's playing it back faster, but it's still maintaining the pitch of my voice. I don't sound like a chipmunk, and so it's easier to understand what I'm saying to be able to pick out those mistakes without going too quickly over them. So there you go. Those are some tips that you can use to edit much faster in Adobe Premiere Pro. If you found this information helpful, take a quick second to like this video. And if you're new to my channel, I'd love to have you subscribe. I have a lot more digital art related videos like this. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.